Welcome everybody to Kensington Torah Circle Mystical Mondays. We have a very special evening for you here tonight. After a wild and fun Ashkenaz music festival the last 3 days, we're excited to round it up with Torah. And coinciding, we have a very special guest here tonight. And so we're taking it as a special feature tonight so we can watch this amazing Torah production another night as well. My name is Rabbi Law. Most of you guys know me, you're friends, members of Kensington Torah Circle. Kensington Torah Circle is a grassroots downtown organization that basically started a year ago here at the Kiver Shul, which is gracious enough to let us use their facilities, as just a Torah class with some friends. And it's really shot out into a huge downtown movement in downtown Toronto to bring Torah and friendship and spirituality into like a new level. And things are going really great. We had an awesome festival. And it's really great that you guys decided to come out here when you also could have gone and heard the rest of the music shows. You decided to come here and engage your mind and your soul in some great Torah learning. So it's awesome to see you guys here. And actually in the end, we got a great turnout. So I want to introduce upcoming and already star in the Jewish world, Rabbi Bregman, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman. He's the founder of the Jewish Executive Learning Network in New York City in Manhattan. And he's bringing his Torah to tens of thousands of Jews through his lectures, his online presence, through a radio show. He's about to publish a book by Feldheim. As well, in his quote-unquote free time, he has his own law firm. He is the epitome of the new up-and-coming do-everything rabbi. And we're really, really lucky to have him here tonight to teach us about something that we really all want to learn about, which is the topic of the shir is, do Jews believe in love? Meaning is, what is the Jewish concept of love? And Rabbi Bregman is going to enlighten us and with his wisdom. So please, no further ado, welcome Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman from the Jewish Executive Learning Network.
All right, thank you, Rabbi Law. Okay, I'm up and coming and arrived. That's great. That's pretty cool. Okay, thank you so much. This is a big privilege and excitement for me to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a couple weeks since Rabbi Law invited me. I'm glad it worked out. I came to town for the wedding of one of my male students to one of my female students. I made the introduction, the shidduch, the intro. It worked. Another one in the books. And so weddings are always fun, but especially when you get to go and be the hero. And people are whispering like, that's the guy that introduced them, you know? And then all the single mothers are coming to you and all the girls, have you met my daughter? Ma, you're embarrassing me, you're humiliating me. My daughter's so special, she's not gonna tell you, you know? It's fantastic. So thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. And this is great. I believe in packing my schedule with as much worthwhile stuff as I can. So I've been having Torah classes all around Toronto, meetings all day, all night, and just making things happen. So Rabbi Law requested that tonight we should speak about love and dating and marriage and relationships and that kind of stuff from a Torah and Jewish perspective. The Torah has an incredible amount of wisdom to give over in those areas that would benefit any person who's interested in learning about those things. And what I thought on the way over, as my Waze was telling me the ways to get over here, and I was avoiding trolleys and things like that, was basically what we could perhaps do is open it up. Whether whoever was here, just basically open it up. What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? Let's do it. Let's keep it real. What are my credentials? I always like to know what are people's credentials. So my credentials for this topic, I mean, I've been a rabbi for, 13, 14 years already. But every year I deal with thousands and thousands of young people. I'm what they call a shadchan in the observant world. I'm a person who helps match people together. I speak about relationships and love and dating and internationally. I guess once you're in Canada, you're international, but I've been to other nations too. But it feels like America. Like I drove through an area on the way here that looked like Times Square, and I got really weirded out for a second. There's a part that really looked like Times Square. And I got totally, I don't know what happened, like sleep deprivation, I got nervous for a second, but apparently I was still in Canada. But yeah, that was pretty weird. I don't know maybe you know what I'm talking about, 5-10 minutes from here? I was like, oh boy. But it was for a moment, I was like, uh-oh, I made a wrong turn, I'm in Manhattan. But so I have a radio show. I'm on 97.5 FM in the New York area. And I have videos about relationships and stuff. And since I deal with college kids all over North America and people in their 20s and 30s all across North America, I mean, that's what they want to talk about. They don't talk about retirements and stuff like that. That's what they want to talk about a lot. So that's what I'm used to. And I thought we would just open up the floor. What do you want to talk about? fire. I prefer to do things this way. I could tell you cool Torah stuff all night, but I'd rather weave it in the context of what you want to know. So who's going to be the friendly person who first puts out a question, because that person gets the mitzvah and the merit for the whole night of all the stuff that follows, because you opened it up and you loosened it up. Yeah, you have to tell me your name. Jenny. Yeah? Hi. Okay, good. So good. Fire away.
So do Jews believe in love?
That's it, yeah. So I showed my wife the flyer. Print it up. I said, look, she's like, I don't want to hear anymore what a great person you are. I'm tired of hearing, everybody tells me that. I was like, okay, fine. I was like, but it's a cool flyer, She's like, so what's the topic? So my wife asked, I said, she's like, do Jews believe in love? She's like, yeah, of course we do. What kind of topic is that? She's like, wait a minute, do we? She's like, you love me, right? Like, it's a whole episode, I'm like, sorry I showed her the flyer, Okay, but that's 80% true with only 10% exaggeration. But the 10% that's missing, I'm not going to tell you. But basically the answer is this. Yeah, is there such a thing as love? So the answer is, yeah, yes there is. See, we believe that for something to be real, to be rooted in reality, not just like a concept and a construct of our minds that we make up, that we think, but like Israel, does the Torah talk about it? So the Torah does talk about, in the Torah, the concept called ahava. Ahava means love. So I told her, yeah, Esther, come on. It says in the Torah, ahava, yeah, it's real. It talks about ahava, the love between like a husband and wife. Ahavas Hashem, the love we have for Hashem, for God. It talks about Ahavas HaTorah, the love we have for Torah, and Ahavas Yisrael, the love we have for our fellow Jew and the land of Israel. So I said, of course there's such a thing as that. Now, what happens that I think is very challenging for a lot of us is that for each piece of Torah information, maybe something a little more accurate that comes in, we're bombarded with 12 bazillion gigabytes of information that is the construct of whoever's out there, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's this and whether it's that. And a lot of the challenges a lot of young people and even older people have so many times in relationships is because we put information into our minds, we soaked it up in our childhood or whatever, and expectations that we made that are many times counterproductive and not true. They might sell well. It might make for a great movie, with, I don't know, Brad Pitt and whoever else, you want to put opposite him. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily accurate and reflects reality and what's necessarily helpful. So one of the things that I do when I get together with young professionals and I try to help them with this stuff, whether they have one question or they're like, yo, I'm lost in my searching for a spouse, is I begin to take inventory as to what do they believe. ¿Qué creen? Yeah? Mi amigo, aquí hablamos español, right? Should we do the whole thing in Spanish? I don't know. We only have at least one. You're a Spanish speaker, but I don't know everybody else what's going to be. So we'll stick to this. Better to stick to English than I go back to the Yiddish or something, right? So one of the first things I try to do when I help people is I try to inventory what do they believe, and is it true or is it not true? Like let's say somebody has a computer, okay? There's programs running on your computer that are helpful, that are supportive, that help you get done what you need to get done, right? There's also things sometimes you have on your computer that's a virus, that's junk. You got to get rid of it. You got to delete that pretty fast because it's slowing it down, your computer, or it's just totally counterproductive. And a lot of us have beliefs or information in our mind about many aspects of life, but let's talk about relationships and love and that kind of stuff tonight. That is like computer viruses that are in there and it's not helpful. And just like a virus can slow down your computer, a young man, a young woman who want to meet their spouse, you might have some viruses that are slowing you down from getting where you want to be. So we have to issue spot them and help basically uproot sometimes negative information or limiting beliefs or false information and make sure that we replace it with accurate information, that because otherwise a person finds that they have obstacles on the way to getting where they want to go. But love definitely exists, but just it doesn't necessarily exist within the construct of what people think out there in the street and what Hollywood's trying to sell you. Okay? And there's much more to say on it, but I hope that's like an intro to whet your appetite more. Good? Is that a fair answer?
Sure.
All right. She wouldn't say otherwise because she's on film. She doesn't want to, bust me. What's your name? Javier. Hispanohablante también. ¿Qué pasa en Toronto aquí? Yeah. It's like little Havana here. Hi.
Excuse me, I'm a little late. better late than never, יותר מאוחר, אבל לא חשוב.
Yeah, but everything's perfect.
הגעתי, ברוך
Yeah.
השם. מאיפה אתה בא?
I come from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Not Muncie.
No.
Not Muncie.
No.
And not the Upper West Side where you get killed by a gun on 74th and Broadway at Pesach.
Yeah, God forbid. But yeah, no.
Yeah, but it
I'm from New
happened.
Jersey.
אבל זה קרה לי, אבל נדבר על זה אחר כך.
All right, nice to meet you.
And what is your name?
Shlomo.
Shlomo what?
Bregman.
Bregman.
Yeah. Nice to meet
You
you.
don't have acne anymore?
Acne anymore?
No.
Why? I look very
You
young.
look like Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser? No, I even have a wife. You know what I'm saying?
No, you could do neurosurgery.
Yeah?
Yeah, why not?
Okay,
We'll
no.
throw in Mount Sinai and you'll do it.
Okay, I was accepted to medical school, but I went to law school.
Bad choice.
Why? My mom always told me that if I'm a rabbi and a lawyer, I'm almost a perfect Jew. I should have finished medical school.
Ein kategor nase
Senegar. Okay, she's a learned lady.
nachon epis.
Okay.
Okay.
So Javier just asked me a question. Let's see what he wants to say. Javier, háblame. What's on your mind, brother?
Yes, so we established the love exists. Now we need to understand what kind of thing is that. Is it good? What to do about it? And maybe the best way to understand is to apply to the conflicting situations where somebody gets in love with somebody that is not convenient. Maybe not a Jew. Maybe he's attached to someone else.
Sure.
So what to do about the inconvenient?
Yes, that's a great question. So here's something very important. And this is like in the law, a person could be sued for malpractice, or also, God forbid, in medicine, la medicina, malpractice. In I could be sued for rabbinic malpractice if I don't include this piece of information. Rabbi Law will throw me out if I don't include this piece of information tonight. This is like Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey of understanding this topic in the Torah, okay? And that is, love is not something that just happens to you. It is something that is an emotion that you actively create via a specific choice you give, and that is to give to another person or being or entity or concept. Okay, you with me? Number one, love, it's not a feeling, it's something that happens to you. So the whole concept of falling in love, okay, you know what? Falling on a banana peel is a falling that can happen. We're slip and falls, we could sue, there's money in this, okay? There's some falling that happens. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But falling in love doesn't happen, okay? Now, we could talk about what that really is, but falling in love is not real. Love, the word ahava, comes from the word hav. Hav, in Hebrew, means, it's one of the roots that means to give, okay? To give. It's a word that means give. The feeling of love is created by our actively giving and investing of ourselves in another person or thing. So if a person says, I love the Toronto Blue Jays, I don't know all the Toronto teams, but that's all I know, if you worry about them, and you follow them every day, and you give up sleep for them, and you give up your limited income to go to their games, and you're willing to fight with people about who's the best pitcher on the team and everything else. If you invest of yourself financially and emotionally and your heart and your time and everything else, you give to the Blue Jays, even if they don't even know you exist, and they don't know you exist, right? You know what will happen? You can begin to develop what we call the hergation, the emotions of love towards the Blue Jays, okay? So, and it could be with anybody else. Right now, I'm giving to you. I kind of love you, Javier, yeah? And it's growing by the minute, you know what I mean? Because I'm giving you my time, my heart, my energy. I'm giving to you. I'm loving Rabbi Law more by the minute as well. And you too, of course.
No, and your knowledge.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, but one thing, I just want to clarify this point, okay? And then we're with you, okay? So therefore, love is something you actively create. So what happens? It's something you actively create, and it's something to some degree that you could starve away also. Like, let's say there's a hose, and there's water flowing. We know, you take the hose, right, and you bend it, what happens? The water is not flowing the same way. It's not going to reach. Feelings of love to some degree can be controlled to some degree, to a significant degree, I would even say, by how much we choose to give to someone else. So sometimes couples come to me, young couples, for counseling, and they're not getting along so well. I tell the guy, and I'll tell the lady, you got to crank up that love meter, right? The flow of love, you're not giving enough. You got to give more time, more effort, And the person says, well, I'm not feeling it. Well, you're not feeling it because you're not doing it, okay? Because sometimes what happens is there's two ways our emotions work. Sometimes we feel, so therefore we do. But it also works the other way. If you do the outer, it awakens the inner feelings also. You catch what I'm saying? So if a person finds himself, let's say you're Jewish, and you're in a serious relationship with someone not Jewish, and you're like, hey, listen, yeah, I like her and all, but this isn't where I want to drive my family and my legacy in the long run. If you stop investing time and heart and and everything else, and money and weekends and emotions and everything with a person, the feelings will begin to change. The feelings can begin to change too. Now, and I want to get to this. What is the falling in love kind of thing? Okay, listen, let's keep it real tonight, okay? Most times when people talk about, I fell in love, we fell in love, you didn't fall nothing, okay? Nothing happened, okay? First of all, if you're giving and putting in, you're going to feel. And if you're not, you're not. Number two, the second thing is this. Many times when people tell me they fell in love, I start to talk to them what's going on, and let's illustrate what's happening. Here's what happened. I met a person who's making me feel about me in a certain way. Okay? Yeah. This is chachma. Yeah, this is good stuff.
Epis.
Yeah, epis. Oh, she knows Yiddish, Hebrew. You're good. I'm sure you have an interesting backstory. I want to hear tonight after.
You don't want to hear it. You'll come to Hollywood, you'll hear it.
Okay. I'll have to see it for $10 and a bucket of popcorn, I guess. Okay? So what happens? Yeah. What happens is that you realize as you're trying to relate to a person, you realize sometimes a person say, I just feel like I'm so in love with them. Why? I'll tell you why. Sometimes a lady will say, I think I'm in love. Well, you met the guy a week ago. Come on, here's what happened. You didn't have something going on socially, and there's this guy you think is good looking and nice and friendly and cute and sweet, charismatic and whatever, and he's sweating you. He's interested in you, okay? He's into you. And how does that make you feel about yourself? You feel good and nice and pretty and attractive and wanted and whatever. And we explain that feeling as like, I'm falling in love. Leave love out of it. You're falling in lust, you're feeling passion for yourself, okay? You're not falling in love. You're not falling in nothing. Somebody's making you feel good about yourself. And you know what? That's cool. There's a time and place for that you feel good about yourself and somebody makes you feel in a certain way that feels like it's bringing out a higher, better, more desirable you. I'm great with that. But let's not call that love. Let's call it what it is. You know what I mean? I know a guy in the New York area, a nice, good Jewish young professional, and he's single right now, and he told me he met a girl and he feels like he's falling so much in love for her. I said, I know it, come on, I told him. Let's really keep it real, like real. I said, here's what's going on. Come on, I know you. I'm your rabbi. We've been in this rabbi-Jew relationship for years. Okay, here's what's going on. Okay, you've been looking for somebody, and she likes your jokes. A lot of people think your jokes are corny. Me too. We invite you for Shabbat, but and she digs your jokes, and that makes you feel a certain way about you. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're so good looking, whatever, but she seems to think you're a cutie. I don't have opinion. You just come to my classes, but she thinks you're good looking and all that. You know what I mean? So she's making you feel like you're a star right now. That's how you feel. Okay, so don't tell me you're falling in love. If anything, you're having passion about yourself, how this person makes you feel. And if she would stop, giving you all this attention, and all that, I bet you all your feelings of it, they wouldn't be there like they are right now. So we have to know what it is. Yeah.
I have the same conversation with my mother, and she goes, Mark, don't worry, you'll look, you're fine. Oh, I'm not looking, I'm not finding. I'm like, okay, so then I also look, and so what's your...
Well, so that's a multifaceted question with a lot to unpack. And obviously, I'd want to answer you specifically, but without knowing you, your life, your story, your strengths, your weaknesses, your background, what you bring to the table, what you're like in a social setting and everything else, it's very hard for me to tell you something truly helpful and specific. But I would tell you that a lot of us bring stuff to the table that are limits us in social settings, and we don't necessarily understand how other people perceive us. And this isn't you, I'm just talking 6 billion people right now. A lot of times we don't understand how we are. You know, I was dealing with a young professional in the New York area recently who every time they go out, it's like one and done or two and done. It's like never going to 3, 4, 5, you know, it's one and done, maybe two and done. Why? So the person many times sees this fact going on in his life or her life and says, and what happened? We all have facts. Do you have facts? I have, everybody has facts, okay? My bank account, whatever it is, that figure, if I like log on, you know, that's a fact, okay? And whether I'm in a relationship or not, that's a fact. What happens is we take our fact, which are just facts, it just is what it is, and we make a story around it. You know what I'm saying? And we invest it with a life and a story. So one person says, I'm not, you know, take the fact, you know, I'm single. And the person will say a story around it. It's because I don't have money, because every girl wants money, and I don't have money. So like, here's the fact, I'm single, you know, and make a story around it. Another person takes the same fact and say, it's because I'm not in shape yet. Another person has, you know why? Because everybody's snobby, you know, and stuck up, you know? And maybe the story around your fact is right. One guy could be broke and he says it's because the economy stinks. One guy could say it's because nobody gives me a chance. One guy could say it's because everywhere I go, everybody's anti-Semitic and that's why they don't hire me, you know? And it could be one of those. It could be that he's like really like awkward in social settings in an interview, you know? Maybe he's not carrying himself the right way. I'm just talking about dating, but we're talking about everything now, right? You don't know how you carry yourself in a social setting and how you're perceived. A person could take a fact and then they put the wrong story and spin around it. You know what I mean? Why was that person going to one and done and two and done? I'll tell you why. Because they're boring. I'm just being honest with you. Like that person I know in a social setting, probably with somebody, we live in a world where like people are interested in like entertainment and like, you know, like a YouTube video and a clip and I don't know, dumping ice on their head or something like that, you know. One day people watch this video and they won't even know what I'm talking about, but that's okay. But you with me? Un segundo, right? So what happens? So that person is like socially uptight. So that person, I've been able to help them a lot by loosening up and how they interact and having what to talk about and asking questions that don't yield a yes or a no, but you can ask a question that leads to conversation, you know? Like I could ask you a question. I could say, how old are you? So in court, you know, we would call that a closed-ended question because there's a very finite number of responses. I'm 31, I'm 36, I'm 25. You know, like that's that. You know what I mean? If I say, you know, what was the most fascinating experience you've had in the last month, okay? That's a broad question. It could go places, and I could ask you follow-up questions. So for that person, you know, they thought that what's going on is that, you know, just girls don't dig me or like whatever. No, you're fine. You just need to how to like socially interact in like a different way. So every person has their own situation going on. Many times that can help them move themselves forward where they want to go. Happens every single day. But I would say if a person wants to find, they should go out and look. I'm not disagreeing with your mother. I mean, your mother's your mother. That's holy of holies. You know, I'm not touching that. But I'm just saying, I mean, like, but take away a relationship for a moment, okay, and take away dating and take away a marriage for a second as the topic. Let's say it's money, okay? Money doesn't just come to you because you just like, you know, you're just at home playing your Xbox and, you know, watching TV and, you know, updating your Facebook. And then what happens? All of a sudden, like that's what and all of a sudden, you know, bing, bing, you know, get a ring, and it's like the UPS or FedEx guy. He's like, is this like Sarah Schwartz? Yeah, you know, here, there's a package for you. I didn't order anything. Well, you're Sarah Schwartz, you sign here. And you open it up, and it's like $800,000 in cash, you know? Wow, thank you, God. You know, that's not how it goes. Money doesn't just find you. You got to get out there and hustle to have a chance to go find the money. Yes or no? That's what you got to do. You got to get out there, put yourself out there to have a chance to go get it. It's the same with money. It's the same with everything. You have to go out there and you have to go out and fish. Otherwise, probably not going to have it. You know? Can I just give somebody else a chance if they?
Well, it's just an add-on question.
A part two. You sound like a lawyer. But let me see if somebody else wanted to ask something in the interim. Hi, háblame.
What about the chemistry between people?
What about it?
Because if you say like falling in love, I know it's not falling in love. It's like you open yourself up to whatever is coming.
Yeah.
But then the chemistry, if there's no chemistry there, it looks like there's no go forward.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I would say like this: where does chemistry and the like fit in? So I would tell you it fits in perfect. Ready? The more you identify with someone, the more you feel like a connection to them, the easier it is to give. Okay? So when one of my young professionals or an observant person asks me for help in their dating life or a shidduch or whatever, so I mean, I don't come up with a person who's totally different. Okay? You know what you need, Mr. Hasidic young man? You need a girl who, is like a bikini model, and you speak Yiddish and Hebrew, we'll get you a girl that speaks only French, and you're Jewish, and we'll get you somebody who's not. And you're really into Torah, and we'll get you somebody who's like, Why? Because when a person is like you, seems to be similar, semejante, parecido, ¿qué pasa? It's a lot easier to give to that person, okay? When I meet a fellow Jew, I'm like, hey, you're a piece of me and I'm a piece of you. We're all part of Klal Yisrael, we're all part of the Jewish people. So it's easier for me to give my time and love and heart and energy and kayach and, to a person that I think is similar to me, it's easier. So what we call chemistry, it's important because if I like you, if I'm feeling your vibe, if I relate to you, I feel similar to you, it's a lot easier to give. Technically, you could take some person from another third world country, and I guess if I would do enough stuff for them and towards them, I could love that guy or somebody else. I could have feelings towards them develop. It's something you can control. But obviously, it's a lot easier with somebody you like. Could a person marry someone that they find unattractive? Yeah, you could. It's a lot easier to give to a person that you think is attractive, right? Imagine you're going out. You got married tomorrow, instead of the UPS and the FedEx, whatever, being an envelope of cash, now the person comes and there's you're like this 5'4" Jewish girl and there's like this 6'2" box, waiting at the door. And you open it, you're like, I didn't order anything. It's like, listen, Miss Sarah Schwartz, we're just sending you stuff, okay? And you open the box and there's and you're a lady and there's this really good looking Jewish guy, and there's okay. And he's and there's a note there that says, I'm your husband. Hashem sent me to you, and this is how we're doing it, okay? So this is pretty good. This is a pretty good system. We don't do this like this in America, but it would work. Solve a lot of problems, right? This person shows up, and now if you think, they're cute, think, oh my gosh, he's exactly what I wanted. Hashem, you're real, you listen, wow. In Hebrew we say, Shomea Tefillah, you listen to my prayers, this is great. And he does. But the person doesn't always come in that same package, exactly how you picture. But nonetheless, if the person is attractive to you, and is kind of what you had in mind, isn't it a little easier to give to them, to do for them, to overlook their flaws, to forgive them? Yes or no? He's cute, as guapo, you know what I mean? Yes or no? The ladies are all looking down now as I say this on some sides of the room. But you know what I'm talking about? It's a lot easier. If you think a girl is pretty, is it easier to get up and help her? Yeah. If you think she's pretty, it's just easier. It's not something to be ashamed of. That's the way Hashem made us. If you feel an attraction, a connection to a person on any different level, it's easier to do and give and invest to them. Yeah. What do you want to say?
Here we go. No, open my mouth.
No, we were hoping you would. Yeah.
I agree with you. However, with that being said, when someone does open up their mouth and they happen to be so attractive and they open up their mouth and they're socially very inept or they are just useless, then you almost wish as if they'd shut up.
Yeah.
You grace their beauty. You're like, wow, in awe of it. As opposed to someone who is so intense and so passionate about something you are as well. And they may not be attractive in your eyes, but when they open their mouth, you're like, wow. You're so into what they have to say, right?
Yes.
So I think passion and, yes, I think looks is number one, but the ship has sailed if they open up their mouth and are you serious?
Yes.
So I agree to an extent.
Yeah, everything she said is 100% true. It's multifaceted, meaning what happens is this, in terms of attraction, there's no question when you first meet a person, there's a certain impression you might have of them. But we all know that a person can become more attractive or less attractive once they start talking. I think I have a short clip on this on YouTube. I think it's called Picture Perfect Dating or something. Because what happens, a lot of singles that I know, that I'm involved with, singles, even I'm talking Jewish now and even observant, I think Facebook has done a very big disservice, or it's abused in a certain way by people who are serious about dating for marriage, because what happens, they'll go look at somebody up. Let's say I'll say, you know what, David, you really should check out, Sarah, she's really nice. So the first thing he does is, yeah, okay, Rabbi Bregman, I'll think about it. Well, what does think about? I mean, he's going to Facebook, Sarah Schwartz, you know what I mean? First thing. So then he's like looking her up, okay? And then what does he do? He doesn't leave it alone at her profile picture. He starts going through, if he can access it, every single picture of her, okay? And like, you know, this is like one of these girls that like uploaded 1,983 pictures of herself. Let me ask you something. Do you think if we would take 1,983 pictures of you, every one you would think would be like unbelievable? Okay? No! We've all seen pictures of ourselves where we're like, ooh, I hope somebody will delete that. Ah! You know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't break the lens on the camera with that thing. That's unbelievable. Did I look that bad for even 1 millisecond of my life? Ow! You know, we all have that, right? We all have that. So what happens? Many people of both genders are guilty. They'll find one person with one picture they don't like, can't do it. You know, if it's possible in 19 years from now, 19 years, 3 minutes, and 6 milliseconds, that person might have that look for 1 second, not doing it, you know? So people aren't going out as much as they could and they should. I tell people all the time, you know, looks is one thing, but a person can look immediately much better or worse once they open their mouth. And it all ties in because that circles back to chemistry. And therefore, since I identify with you, whether externally or internally in terms of who you are, and preferably, much more preferably both, it's much easier to give over to that person, and then it's much easier to be in business. So everything you said, I think, is 100% true, and I caution people. Sometimes I ask a person, like, somebody say, Rabbi, I don't know about this. And by the way, I don't know a Sarah Schwartz. Literally, I don't. It's a fictitious Jewish name. It could be David Finkelstein. I mean, we could do this all night, you know? You're like, I know David Finkelstein. I know 2 of them, you know? But I think people do themselves a disservice, so I'll go back, and if he says he's not interested, I'll tell him, he's like, Rabbi, I don't know, I heard we're not on the same religious level. I'm like, baloney, get off Facebook, okay? He's like, how did you know? I'm like, because I'm smarter than you. Come on, I know your moves before your moves. So I tell him like this, and I've done this with people. I said, listen, you know, I know you're all about your pictures. Okay, I mean, let's not pretend now you're looking into her, which rabbi she descends from the 1600s. Okay, that's not what's going on tonight. Okay, that you called me back in 3 minutes. What you used your powers of Kabbalah you don't have to reach out to So to God, so I tell him, listen, you know, did she seem attractive to you? Yeah, I guess, yeah, so, okay, so listen, so look, that's definitely warrant enough, you know what I mean, for a first meeting, and, you know, and find out who she is in the inner content, because you can marry the most attractive person in the world, but if they're ugly on the inside, I mean, you're going to hate the guts before you get to the chuppah, okay? It doesn't matter what the person looks like on the outside, because when there's what's going on the inside is really what you're relating to day in and day out. A lot of people become very small in their mindset, and all they're thinking about is the wedding pictures and the wedding date and, you know, like, how's it going to look in the pictures, okay? And you know what? If that's a person's mentality and that's really what their focus is, you know what? Then that person should stay single for a while, because we don't need you basically contaminating something that's kadosh, holy, like marriage, you know what I mean, with the wrong attitude. Because eventually a person's not going to look the same. They're going to look older, their hair will be worse, they'll be flabbier, maybe they'll have kids, I don't know, they'll gain weight, whatever, you know, like, they're not going to look the same. And if what you're really into is the outside, what happens if something happens to the outside, right? Then what? You don't care about them anymore? Okay, we don't, that's not, I mean, there's a place for that, but it isn't in Judaism, you know? Rabbi Law, if you raise your hand, you know, it's rock, paper, scissors, you win, you know?
A lot of guys and ladies, they seem to say, like, okay, when I get that really good job, or like when I get my life together, or when I like hit the gym every day for the next 6 months, then I'll go out. Do you think there's any real preconditions to going out? What are the preconditions that somebody has to go out? Are they physical, spiritual?
Yeah. Well, I would say like this. I mean, I think there are very few preconditions. I'm talking now if a person wants to date for marriage. Pretty much everything I'm saying up to now, it could be applied broadly. But I mean, I come from a background within the Jewish world, the observant world, that we don't date, you know, for fun and, you know, for experiences. You can look it up, Google it. Study after study after study shows that if your orientation and your experience is dating for fun and having physical relationships that are casual, one after the other and everything else, the odds on your reporting satisfaction in your marriage plummet like Obama's approval rating in the United States, okay? I mean, and even more, and that could plummet more too, but that's not for tonight, okay? I'd like to trade, we're speaking in Canada tonight, I'd like to trade heads of state with you, okay? See how you guys do for a while, okay? But that's a different Torah for another night. But anyway, I don't think there's that many preconditions. I'm a big believer in life that you have to, in general, you have to start, okay? Like whenever I wanted to start teaching Torah, when I started teaching publicly, I didn't think I knew enough. I don't know enough. I got to finish more Talmud, more this, more that. And then I say, you know what, just start, because I knew I was way, way, way ahead of kind of other people. And when I became a newly minted attorney, I passed the bar in Jersey, I passed the bar in Florida, I was certified by Supreme Court. So I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think I know enough to lawyer. But what am I going to do? I already went to college for 4 years, law school for 3 years. I was certified by the Supreme Court. I got to start already, you know what I mean? With live patience, and you'll kind of figure it out. There's many things in life they have to start. Now, if a person is honest with themselves and they know, I am right now in an emotionally unhealthy place, if you could be honest and reflective enough, I don't think you should date, okay? If a person says, I don't have the capacity to give right now, and I'm only looking to take and not to give, we don't need you contaminating the applicant pool, okay? We don't need that right now. In the observant world, I would certainly say, if you're dating in the shidduch system, in the observant world, because you feel like a societal pressure, this is what I'm supposed to do, but you're not really feeling like I'm at a place where if I meet somebody special, I can commit for marriage. Don't do that, because you're just causing burnout with the people in the public. You're hurting their feelings, And there's people go out, and they're like, wow, I keep going out, and I don't know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. Half the people you're going out with aren't even serious, And they're like, I'm so burnt out from it. Nebuch, it's a shame you're burnt out because you've been going out with people that aren't interested in the same goal as you again and again and again. So I think there's a few prerequisites, but oftentimes we put off things that we know would be good for us in life until, I know a rabbi who said, I'm going to start teaching more, but I got to get in shape first. Well, that guy's still not in shape. You know what I mean? He's well-rounded. Mamish, literally. You know what I mean? He's well-rounded. And we would have never heard anything beautiful out of his mouth so far if he was waiting to look a certain way, So I think in life, if you have what to bring to the table and you're in an emotionally healthy place, you have to be ready you have to just put yourself out there. Now, I'm open to hearing specific cases, what about this and what about that? But many times it's worthwhile to start, because if it's predicated on an economic reality, even if you will have money in the bank, you put yourself out there in dating, money comes and money goes. You could get married and you have money in the bank and, you have a job. And what if you lose the job? Well, all of a sudden you're not fit to be a spouse anymore. You're buying into the person, not necessarily, variables that fluctuate. So, but again, if somebody's emotionally unhealthy or looking to use people, or a person says, I'm just looking for a rebound and whatever else, we don't need destructive people who are not interested in giving over. And I want to say this very clearly. Half of my day, not literally, but it feels like that, people tell me I'm looking for a list. I'm looking for a guy like this. I'm looking for a guy like that. Looking for a woman like this. My 10 things on my list are like that. Okay? Everybody's telling me that. 1 out of 100 comes and tells me what they have to offer and they bring to the table. Okay? If you're coming to a marriage and you're coming to serious dating and you're coming from a taker perspective, we don't have time for you. Okay? It's not going to work. I never forget it. 1 out of 100 will come and tell me, let me start by telling you, they'll tell me, this is what I bring to the table. This is what I have to offer. Can you help me find a person who can receive that which I have to give? Okay? Every time I hear that, I think the Messiah is going to come in 1 minute. I hear bells ringing. This is unbelievable.
And reciprocate.
Yeah. But most people aren't talking like that. Most people are like, I want a person like this and a person like that and a person like this and a person like that. Well, what do you have to bring to the table? I don't know. Okay, what do you have to offer? I don't know. I'm just looking to be on the receiving end, Physically, emotionally, materially, I'm looking for a person to make me feel a certain way. And then, of course, I'll label him and me as being in love, because he's making me feel a certain way. But you're not oriented the right way, if that's the starting point. From this side of the room, what's going on?
What, in your opinion, Rabbi, what are the
I
top?
don't know what your name is,
Natan Raziel, Andrew Chef.
but you have a cool jacket.
Thanks.
If you don't want it, I'll take it home with me tonight.
Can I ask you, what, in your opinion, what are the top 3 things that a person should look for?
What, in marriage?
To get, yeah.
That's a great question. I ask that a lot. Whatever top 3 I think of at the time becomes my new top 3 for that day. But I would say that it also varies according to who the person is. And there's definitely certain traits that will make a relationship more likely to last the test of time versus not. You know, here's my own list. Okay, like just off the top of my head, and I can't say there's only 3, but these are big traits. If you find these, this is good. Okay, number 1, I love easy graders. Okay, what do I mean? You ever remember when you're back in school and you got a teacher, a professor, and like they'd give partial credit? You know, like you had the right war. It was just, you said it was the war of 1876 and it was 1776, but you knew the rest. You got partial credit, right? You remember how that was? And then there was other teachers, and they wouldn't give you any credit at all, right? You had to get the answer perfect or everything was 0. It's very important in life, if you want to have a happy marriage, to find someone who's an easy grader, okay? Easy grader, you like that? Easy grader, it's like, you know what? They asked you to pick up Pampers for the baby, okay? And they wanted Huggies with the 2 on the box for that size. And you got Huggies 3, because 3 kind of looks like 2 and you went fast and maybe the clerk misplaced it. You know, a person who's a hard grader is going to kill you when you get home. You know what I mean? Oh, blah, 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 blah. But a person who's an easy grader will say, you know what? Our kid can't wear this. You know what I mean? I'm going to open the box. I mean, it's midnight. Like, we're going to just do this for tonight. Hopefully nothing will, spill out of the pamper. We'll try to do it tight. And in the morning, please, can you help me get another one? You know what I mean? And thank you for making the effort to get it. You want an easy grader in life. If you're married, okay, and you're a man, and let's say your wife is very kind, she cooks for you something, okay? A bad grader, a tough one, will say, you made me toast, it's a little burnt, okay? You made me a steak, it's hard. It's always looking for fault. If it's not perfect, it's no good. Okay, that's the hardest kind of person to live with. An easy grader realizes this yesod, this foundation principle. You ready? Nothing is coming to you. Okay, in Yiddish, there's an expression that a person could say, but they shouldn't say it. We say, es kommt mir. You know what that means in Yiddish? Es kommt mir what? It's coming to me. That's right. It's coming to me. Es kommt mir. I'm owed. It's coming to me. Okay, guess what? That's not for Judaism, okay? The Torah doesn't say es kommt mir. Nothing is kommt mir. Nothing's coming to you. And everything you get is basically plus and more than you actually deserve. Yeah, everything is good, So when my wife makes me something, my wife is a wonderful cook. But if bread would be this way, guess what? Guess what? I didn't have to make it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and everything is good, and everything's for the good. Everything's great. You know what I mean? So now, it's totally okay if you want to be a hard grader on yourself, as long as it doesn't affect your self-esteem and you demand of yourself performance and stuff like that. That's okay. But so it's fine if you want to be a hard grader on yourself to bring out your best, But I think it's a key trait. You want to be with people that are easy graders, okay? Because an easy grader, it works, okay? Easy grader. Your wife, you go to buy her flowers, you forget that's the kind she's allergic to. Huh? Cuando uno está en la escuela y da una nota en el examen, grade es el verbo de cuando el profesor da una nota.
Compromiso.
Por ejemplo, hay un examen, alguien puede recibir A, B, C, D. Ese verbo es grade. Easy grader es alguien te da algo generoso en el examen del papel. Okay? Yeah? Good?
Actually, they don't do ABC.
Huh?
They do 1, 2, 3, they go 1.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. En tu país dan números.
1, 2, 3.
En el examen? Okay, aquí son letras, pero la misma cosa. Yeah. Cameraman.
I just wanted to clarify. So, easy grader, also known as somebody who has a high level of gratitude.
Yeah.
Not too much of a perfectionist, and also somebody who isn't too high maintenance. Would that all?
Yeah, that I would say all of them can be kind of subsumed. The question is, it's like which trait is the trunk of the tree, and which is a branch, and which is a leaf kind of sticking off of it. The Vilna Gaon actually speaks about that, in a different, for another time, for the Torah scholar in the back, Rabbi Law. But part of that gratitude fits in. A person who doesn't think I'm owed will therefore be more grateful, because the character traits kind of intersect like a puzzle. So I would agree with you. What's high maintenance? High maintenance. There's no textbook definition, but we all kind of know what it is when we see it. Okay, and I think that there's certain traits that might be fun to go out with, fun to date, fun in social settings, but that's not what you're looking for in a relationship. Somebody once asked me this, and I love what I said, if I could say so myself. Somebody asked me the other day on the street, okay, Rabbi Regman, I know who you are. What kind of person should I marry? You know what I said back on the spot? Marry a Honda Accord. Okay? That's what I said. The person's like, zing, boom, I like that. I said, but what do you mean? Like, I like it, but what does that mean? I said, kind of stylish, kind of cool, practical, affordable, gets you from A to B, reliable, in there for the long run, okay? That Ferrari might look, fun, but those are expensive parts and this and this and that, you know what I mean? Marry a Honda Accord, okay? And you like that? Huh? Nothing. I used to have one. The lease expired. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I was on my brain. You know what I'm saying? But I use that as an example. Because you want a practical model to drive with through life. Yeah.
Men comparing women to cars. It's like you got to test drive. Like there's all these comparisons to cars. You're doing that too.
Well, when we came out of our mothers, when we were born, we came with a handbook. The car handbook and this, so we just, but I actually find men a lot talk about sports, you know what I mean? Like in the context of dating, like the non-observant men I meet. the yeshiva students don't do this, and like yeshiva no hablan así. But in general, it's like this. Like I remember when I was in college, a guy would be like, yeah, so I heard you got the ball again. Yeah, she's giving me a chance. Okay, so what'd you do on first down? Yeah, we went out for dinner. Yeah, we moved the chains, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, how close are you to, moving it? He goes, I'm going to put the ball up in the air time. We're going for it all, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, really? That's how they kind of they talk. I don't know why they have sort of sports metaphors.
So I don't really...
Could be.
I've never heard males that I've been around.
Yeah, when I was in college, people kind of spoke like that.
College thing, realistically.
You didn't go to YU?
No.
Okay, so to recap so far, there's three, I heard two so far. So initial attraction, someone who's an easy grader. What's the third?
There's what in terms of a worthwhile trait?
Your opinion today.
I would say it varies. Back to what I said before, a person who can receive that which you have to give, okay? Let's talk about that a little more. Let's say there's a person who is like a very wonderful homemaker, okay? There are people out there, men, who are interested in a person who wants to be a homemaker. But if you're not interested in that, and that's what the main person thinks, look what I'm doing, I'm running the house so nicely and efficiently, whatever else, if that's not what you're interested in, you're going to put in so much and nobody's going to give you recognition, right? You have to have a person who's interested in receiving that which you have to give, There are a lot of mismatched relationships where he's wonderful and she's wonderful, but neither one has any interest in the traits and attributes that the other person kind of brings to the table. And I see this happen a lot.
You have to empty the pocket.
Huh?
You have to empty the pocket.
Yeah.
Empty the pocket.
Yeah.
Empty pocket. If you have too much idea, too much this, too much that, it's crashing the...
Yeah. Sure. Well, a lot of people today are demanding. I believe that we live in, at least to my estimation, the most unhappy of times almost ever. And the reason is, for a lot of reasons, I think what happens is that our appetites and our wants are sky high, but our willingness to put in the work and pay the price to get them is really weak. I'm just speaking now what's going on in the United States. I'm 37, okay? Just turned 37 recently. 37, 38, I'm around there. I actually didn't know how old my birthday was recently. For real, I wasn't sure how old my birthday was. Wasn't sure. Because I told my kids I was turning 38 in June, and my wife said, no, you're 37. I said, no, I'm turning that. And she did them out. Because if you're really busy, you're not even sure what your age is sometimes, So I didn't even know what day it was. The other day I asked somebody, I said, what day is today? They're like, it's Monday. I'm like, okay, great. Because I'm just working around the clock. Everything kind of blends. So why was I mentioning this? Because I just lost my train of thought. I was talking about wife, kids, Honda Accords, and we were just talking about...
Your age, you didn't know what your birthday was.
Yeah, my age, my birthday. What was the question?
No, the question was...
Oh, yeah, unhappy generation. Thank you. Muchas gracias. I knew we'd come back to that. We'll put that on the blooper roll, Rabbi Law. It's okay. Nothing's a blooper. It's all worked in. It's all for effect. No, really, I did forget. So, I'm just playing. But what happened? So, like, you know, I see this in the United States. When I was growing up, it was much harder to become successful than it is today. When I was growing up, the average, relatively, amongst my peers, young person was willing to work extremely hard, study extremely hard, do almost anything it took to accomplish what they want. To go to this school, that school, you know, people were very hardworking. There's a plague, an epidemic in the United States today. And I'm not talking about illegal immigration, and I'm not talking about other things, and Muslim terrorism, and I'm just talking about this one right now. It's okay, to a large degree in the United States right now, to be average. Average hustle, average drive, average effort, average result. It's okay. It's like normal. It's like all right. Okay. When I was growing up, like, people wanted to be more, but it actually works to the advantage of people who have their foot on the gas pedal of life, because it's really easy to zoom past people now. It's never been easier in the United States to become successful, because if you're willing to work 70, 80, 90 hours a week, and be smart and add value to the marketplace, it's never been easier to be to be successful, because people aren't even trying so much anymore. You know, when I was growing up, when people were unemployed and they wanted a job, they would submit 100 resumes a day and make 50 phone calls a day, a lot of them. Today, they go on Monster.com, they submit 3 resumes a day for jobs they're not even interested in, and then they just go on Facebook and then take another nap, okay? And I'm talking about tens of millions of people like have this going on. So what does this have to do with relationships? I'm not really sure. Why am I bringing this up? Because people are unhappy and they want so much, okay? So people like I know, a lot of people, they want so much materially and this and that. Their parents had. They want things for themselves, but they're not willing to do the work to get there. See, everything has a price. And that's okay. Everything has a price. And I don't even mean in dollars and cents. A lot of times it's in schwitz, in sweat, in effort, in toil, in sleepless nights. Effort you got to put in to get what you want. You have to pay. So you can have anything you want in life. You just have to figure out the price. And are you willing to pay the price to go get it? And the price of what you want in life almost always costs many, many times more than you think it costs. Almost always does. Almost always costs you much more in effort than what you realize. A person can say, I want an amazing marriage. Yeah? Well, what are you willing to put in? I don't know, 15 minutes every 2 days. You're not going to get an amazing marriage. You're going to get a flat tire of a marriage. I mean, that's all you've got? That's all you're bringing to the table? Because you've been watching your whole life movies and you think that's what your relationship is going to be. You know, so the wants people have are created by Hollywood and other appetites. The wants are sky high. But what they're willing to do to get it, it's weak. And when that disparity is so big, people are unhappy. So you're saying, you know, people should empty their pockets? A lot of the wants that people bring to the table are so obscene materially and this and that. And you know what? But that's not even a problem per se. The challenge is, in my opinion, people aren't willing to do the hustle and the work in any aspect, in many cases, to go get what they want. You know, and I'll tell you something else, and this is a good rule in life. Doing one of almost anything is not enough, okay? Like, let's say you want to get healthy, and so you decide, I'm going to eat a fruit today, or I'm going to eat a vegetable. Okay, guess what? You know what? Not going to make a difference. Add a couple zeros to that. 100 vegetables this week, 1,000 fruits, you know, in the next 3 months. Add some zeros to it, maybe it'll make a difference. If you go to the gym once, okay, one, not going to change your, you know, you're not going to change your health. You're just going to be sore tomorrow, okay, and that's it. You know, go on one date. You're probably not going to get married. You know, apply for one job, make one call to one potential customer. You're not going to sell anything. You have to add a lot of zeros and effort to get what you want. Most people aren't willing to do that, and so a lot of relationships don't happen. And when they begin to form, people just kind of expect as kommt mir, it's going to kind of come to me and it's just going to flow. Who told you it's just going to flow? 90210. I mean, I don't know. Where did this come from? It's not going to flow. You got to put in effort. Marriage is hard. A lot of people want to get married. And I tell them, I don't know if you're like conditioned for it, because like it's going to be harder than it is today. You have to work really hard just to make it work that you could stay together. And even then, you have to have good mazel, you know? So I think that's really what it comes down to, that people want, and you can have almost anything you want in life, but you got to be willing to put in the price. And listen to me, if nothing else, and almost everything you want costs more than you realize. Costs more than you realize. If I want to make a budget for the Jewish Executive Learning Network, I can't call 3 guys. If I think, okay, if I go to 3 meetings, they'll donate enough for that. No, I probably need to go to 23 meetings, you know what I mean, in order to do it. Okay, and then I'm like, okay, so it's not going to be 3. I better think big. It'll be 9. No, it'll be 26, you know? Almost everything is more effort than you realize. Yeah, Adelame.
Do you want to success in the first marriage? Maybe at the 0, marry 10 times. Maybe in the 10th marriage will be best.
Well, if we lived forever, there'd be a good chance it works. But, eventually we collect a lot of dents and dings along the way. I mean, should a person drive a car, crash 10 times, and say after the 10th crash, I'm going to be really, cruising in my Honda Civic, So I hear what you're saying, but once you get that far, I don't know how many chances you're going to get unless you're a billionaire, and then the chances are unlimited, Darren.
Okay, so I'll be real quick, 2-part question.
Why you have to be quick? I love you.
Thank you.
Old-time friend.
Couple things, likewise, a couple things that I've noticed that I wanted to ask you about, and see if you've noticed these also, especially like in a place like New York City. So people are really picky, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but maybe that's my question. What level of selectivity or pickiness is acceptable? I'll give you a quick example. Secular girl I met, went on a date, really liked the guy. Bottom line, why isn't she going out with him again? She didn't like his shoes. She liked everything else about him, but with those shoes, forget it. That's one example. Another example, religious girl, asking on the first date, or maybe even before the date, what color is the tablecloth? This is an Orthodox one. In the home of the potential guy, and if it's not the same shade of off-white or something, then...
Is that a real story?
It's a legitimate, there was a shit-up crisis discussion.
Yeah, well, that person's causing their own crises in their lives. Yeah.
So, and then the other part is, are you finding that a lot of people don't know themselves or their own values, and until they do, how could they possibly pick know what to look for in the right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. So, okay, let's start with pickiness, okay? So I say like this. I believe pickiness, it's like being racist, okay? Here's what I mean. If you ask the average person, are you racist? Are you racist? Are you racist? What else? Me? God forbid. Chas v'shalom. I'm not racist. No. Okay, nobody's racist. Now ask them, do you know somebody who's racist? Oh, sure. I know somebody who's racist. I know people racista, right? Okay, yeah. So I believe pickiness, Aaron, it's very much like this idea. If you ask people, are you too picky in dating, in shidduchim, and in seeking a spouse? Me, picky? No. My criteria are sent from God himself, okay? My criteria are perfect, okay? Do you know anybody who's single who's too picky? Oh, sure. There's Rachel, and there's Brian, and there's David, and what about Jeff? Oh, he's one for the record books, okay? Nobody is too picky. But everybody knows that somebody's picky. This is what I said. It's like being racist, No. I'm not racist, but I know some people that are. But if you ask everybody else, everybody knows somebody, but you never actually meet that person, okay? So, Zarin, you hear that? Definitely a lot of people are way too picky. Now, what's the problem with being picky? You know what the problem is? I define picky as using arbitrary criteria in order to eliminate something. Okay? If I go to buy a box of spaghetti in the supermarket, what's too picky? I mean, if I want spaghetti and I don't want noodles, like a little elbow, okay, that's not too picky. That's not arbitrary. But if I'm like, you know what? I think the box looks like 3 people have picked it up before. That's arbitrary already. I'm becoming a nudnik. I'm crazy, okay? That's not arbitrary. If I want spaghetti and it's a noodle, okay, I got that. But so a lot of criteria. So that's a good definition, but a lot of the criteria people pick for themselves are too picky because they're arbitrary. So what the Torah says, and this is very important, is something I preach. I'm not a preacher, like preach, Rabbi Bregman preach, but I talk about. and I try to practice very strongly, is we each need to be under what we call responsible rabbinic management. I'm going to trademark that one day. RRM. Responsible rabbinic management. The Torah tells us you have an obligation, a spiritual obligation, to have a rabbi, a spiritual guide, a Torah scholar, a rebbitzin, somebody of weight who can guide you and help you in your spiritual life and your spiritual journey. Rabbi Law is a wonderful Talmud Chacham, a big Torah scholar, and a kind of person who can guide you. See, we all think we're unbelievable and our criteria are sent from Hashem and everything else. But you know what? A lot of people are too picky. And if you have somebody who's objective, as possible, who's outside yourself, who likes you and you respect, you can ask, they could say, you know what? But, Rabbi Law could put his arm around, Brian or David and be like, you know what? I think that's a little much. Is Aaron, you here? I think that's a little much. That's a little much. We can let that go. People who, and this, I want to add this point, people who are not willing to let certain criteria go, we have a name for them. And you know what we call them? Permanently single, God forbid, okay? You have to be willing to let things go. If you're not willing to let certain criteria go, you will probably be permanently single. Every person who's married was willing to take on someone who was flawed, okay? Flawed. And so what is the real game when you're trying to date for the purpose of getting marriage? You basically, and this is very crucial. I mean, Rabbi Law, this was worth the whole time to say this, okay? You figure out what are, number one, the strengths of a person, and then you figure out their flaws. Don't ever get engaged or married to a person if you can't figure out what their chisroinis are, the chisronot, their shortcomings. And then you ask yourself this question, can I live with these shortcomings, okay? Because what's a shortcoming to that person, that's not so bad. You know what I mean? My wife is like, she always jokes, I'm not short, but she's like an inch taller than me, okay? So she met me and she thought I was short. I'm like a 5'10", 5'11" Jew. I'm not short, but she thought I was short. But you know what? She could swallow that. You know what I mean? She goes, okay, he's short. She joked, short. But guess what? She can make it work because that's something we could let that go. But other people bring other shortcomings, that you can't. That person has a track record of massive dishonesty. I can't build a life with a person. That's a shortcoming that I can't swallow that. So people who get married are able to take the perceived or actual shortcomings of another person, work their way through it, and basically understand, can I live with these shortcomings? My wife figured out, you know what? He's okay, he has enough good stuff on the ledger, and his shortcomings, I can hold my nose, and we could do it, okay? That's what it takes to get married. And a person has to know, are their criteria important or not? A lot of the things you said, actually, I not because you said them, but I'm saying it's revolting to me that there's people out there who come up with such arbitrary criteria. And you know what? If that's what it's really about to you, I wish everybody to be well and happy, but you get what kind of you deserve. That's not a formula to get you to the finish line. Tablecloth, what kind of tablecloth their family use? What are we talking about already? Wow. Yeah, I just want to let her ask a question because she didn't have a chance yet.
It wasn't a question, it was just a comment. I was going to say, though, I think it's still...
Totally okay. Comments are good.
I think it's still, acceptable to have certain standards, though. Not being picky, but to a certain extent to have...
I think in order to have standards, you have to have them yourself.
Yeah,
so
for sure, but not to...
You can't call someone out and be like, you have these laws. If you respect yourself and you're mature enough to say, I have A, B, C, D, you have to grow up and mature and be like, okay, I can't change someone. I can maybe point it out and say how it would hurt themselves and hurt others, but you gotta swallow it and you have to live life because it's only going to get tougher, not easier, right? So you just suck it up.
Yeah, well, I agree a person should have standards. But listen, we don't say that date or marry anything that moves. You know what I mean? So, of course, so every person should have, standards, but we have to make sure that they're based on something real and important and that they actually hold weight. So definitely have to have, standards. Well, one thing I would add to what you were saying, and I get on my guys, my male students, my talmidim, my disciples, I beat them up over this. Don't you ever demand and expect something of somebody else that you yourself don't embody. There's a guy I know, and he's like a pretty heavy, big guy, and he thinks he expects every girl to be like a Barbie doll in a skirt. And you know what? I've known him for a bunch of years, like we have a relationship where he tells me, Rabbi Bregman, if you agree with me, tell me. You think I'm wrong? Tell me. You think I'm very wrong? Tell me. And tell me I'm very wrong. I told him, what are you talking about? Won't you ever eliminate anybody like that? Come on. You know, and you expect this Barbie doll with a shaitel and a skirt, you know, over there. Like, what are you bringing to the table? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, what do you think? This person who's in the gym all day, what do you think they're interested in? A person who has let themselves, you know, go? So I'm saying, like, don't ask of people things that you yourself don't have. I've met people who said, I want somebody who's spiritually growing. Oh, that's beautiful. Are you spiritually growing? No. Okay, well, people who are spiritually growing, like other people are spiritually growing. Like, it's just kind of how it goes, you know? I want a person with motivation. Are you motivated? No, but maybe they'll motivate me. Well, let me tell you something. People who are very motivated get turned on and excited by being around other motivated people. Man, woman, child, black, Chinese, anything else, okay? People who are the hustlers of life, go, 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 are actually repulsed by people who aren't. So I'm just saying, like, you want to motivate a person? I know motivated people, okay? They like people who are motivated. Don't come and demand and wish and insist if you yourself aren't bringing any of that juice to the table as well. You're going to be very disappointed, you know? Because people who are a certain thing, they got that way, not by accident, not that UPS box, because they actually embody it. They don't just talk about it, they want to be about it. They're going to be about it, okay? They want to be about it. And if they took the time to be about it, guess what? It's probably important to them, okay? My friend, were you raising your hand in the back, or are you resting your elbow on the chair? Okay, yeah. Lana.
No, could we go back to the answers there? The second question about the value. What was the question around that values?
So my question was basically whether or not you're finding that a lot of people don't know themselves well enough, and what I mean by that is they haven't figured out what their own values are. They can't articulate it. They couldn't even make a list of their own values. So how can they possibly, without knowing their values and what's important to them, values like those, how can they possibly know who to look for?
Yeah, well, I think that's very important. I mean, if you don't know yourself and your strengths and your weaknesses and what you have to bring and what makes you tick and where you're trying to go, how can you find a person who basically coincides with that, right? That's a very, very difficult thing to do. And it's very confusing to go out with someone who they themselves is kind of a lost person. Now, the only people who are usually okay with dating people that are completely lost are people either with low self-esteem, who kind of, kind of like feel a power trip over it, or people who they themselves are lost, and they don't realize another person's lost because they're so lost that they're spinning like a dreidel. They don't even notice. People who know what they want and where they're going in life do not want to date a person who is. So I would say that the more you have it together and you know where you're going and what you want, you'll sort of weed out people that are not compatible, because you'll be like, wow, here's a person who's just kind of enjoying my company. I'm driving my life over here, and this person is kind of going in and out of the lanes, okay? So I think the clearer you are as to who you are and where you want to go with life, it becomes less of an issue. But it is concerning to me when people say that they're dating for the purpose of getting married, and they're not clear where they are. If there's a college kid, in Texas, and he's a freshman and he's going out with a girl tonight on a date. I mean, they both know they don't know what they want in life, and they're doing what they're doing, but that's not what we're talking about tonight, But if you're dating for the purpose of marriage, you have to know what you stand for. You have to know, otherwise you're cruising for trouble.
Just relating to that, what about the codependency complex? Let's say someone is extremely type A personality, knows what they want, they're chief of a hospital, etc. And they particularly do not want to marry another doctor, etc. They want someone who's a homemaker who will have 4, 5, 6 children.
Yeah.
And it's a codependent, they each have totally different assets that may coincide, and that's both what they want.
Yeah. Well, I think
that's similar to goals and values that we discussed.
Yeah. Well, I would say like this. There's nothing wrong with first of all, the Torah perspective is that the couple has to kind of balance each other out. when we're dating, we might find it easier to relate to and feel chemistry with a person who articulates our vibe and our energy and our frequency. That might be fun to spend time with, but time and again, the Torah has said that we actually often do better with people that balance us out. It might be fun to date a person if you're outgoing who's outgoing. You know, it might be fun, or, you know, to be with, if you're shy, with another person who's shy. But generally, but generally, for long run, it's better to have, you know, people who balance you out. If you want to marry somebody who's just like you, I could save you a lot of time and a lot of catering expenses. I'll give you a mirror, look in the mirror, and then, you know, you'll be with somebody just like you. You know, but so yeah, I mean, it could work in many different ways, many different relationships. But I think it's a question of, are we aiming in the same direction, and what could I bring to bear? In your, you know, fictional case, you know, that person who's the head of the hospital.
To build a family.
Yeah, that person who's the head of the hospital might say, you know, I'm a terrible person to run a home and spend time with the kids, you know, but I could bring money to the table that you will use to help build our home. But they're both steering in the same direction.
The purpose is for the family.
Yeah, and the family, and so we're in the same direction. I was hoping you'd raise your hand.
Where does the concept of the shared fit in all this? Like, in terms of not looking for somebody who's perfect and whatnot, but like Honda Accord's very good, reliable, durable car. It's very common though. It's not necessarily unique to each person, as opposed to like the shared soulmate, where it's somebody you feel is kind of unique to yourself. Not perfect, they have their flaws and everything, but where does the idea of the share fit into this in terms of trying to find right?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say like this. The Torah does speak about this concept that you could have a bashert, a soulmate, something's called a zivug, which means your pair, your other side. Truth be told, it is one of the least helpful concepts to speak about in terms of helping real people in the dating world and dating scene. Why? Because people have this fantasy vision of what this might mean. Now, the Torah does say, it says this, I mean, God wrote this in the Torah and told us in Mount Sinai, that we have such a thing that, like, first of all, that there's like a soul, like a Jewish soul, and it's split in half, and half's going to go to a guy, and half's going to go to a girl, okay? And then God, like, puts you down in the world, and if you're Jewish, your other half, your technical other half could only be Jewish as well. Your bashert cannot be somebody who is not Jewish if you're Jewish. Okay, but what happens? So the soul comes down, and you're in this world, but guess what? What do I mean by it's not helpful? It's not helpful for two reasons. It's not like a lock and a key that you can just meet people. Okay, here, you give me the lock, here's the key. What do you think? Oh, doesn't open, doesn't open, doesn't open, right? That's not going to work. That's not really helpful to do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not helpful in terms of that. Like, it doesn't change what I can do or not do in terms of what I can bring to the table. Number two, when we take that word, bashert, basically means, it sort of has a connotation like it was meant to be. But a lot of times what's meant to be is what we make to be. That ends up being what's made to be. Third of all, it's not helpful because people imagine in their minds that, you know what's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. They expect that there's going to be this perfect fit and bliss and everything's going to be smooth. And they pass up a lot of very good workable situations. They pass up a lot of good workable situations. They pass them up because it just didn't fit perfect, like I saw in that movie, right? So it's not a helpful concept. To the point, the Torah says that you can be with the person who's your technical other half from upstairs, with a capital U, and that person could drive you crazy, okay? You could be Jewish and marry a girl who's Christian and get along great for 60 years, and you have a peaceful life, and that's not technically your other half of your soul from before. So the point is that there is such an idea and such a concept, but I generally, when I'm advising young people about this and through the dating and marriage process, I don't think it's necessarily a helpful construct. It is true, but it doesn't enrich your day-to-day kind of dating experience. And I even believe that there's many people that actually you could make a go out of it with, in the world that are Jewish and stuff. And there are a lot of people you can make it work and make a go at it, that it could actually work. And then you yourself choose by the effort you put in to treat this person as your beshert. Once you get engaged, you treat the chassan, the kala, the bride, the groom, the chassan, well, the groom, the bride, the chassan, bridegroom, I mismatched them in Hebrew, but you know what I mean. You have to treat that person as though that you knew positively that that was the one from upstairs. When you'll be married, now, men don't ask this, so much, but if you'll be married, guys, and your wife will say to you, "Do you think I'm your beshert? Do you really think so?" You say yes. You say yes. You don't quote Rabbi Bregman there. You say yes because you want to stay married now. Do you know what I'm trying to say? You don't go, "Oh, well, Rabbi Bregman said." Come on, don't do that. You're gonna have a problem. But when you're dating. You know what I mean? If somebody's trying to get all like romantic and misty-eyed on you, you go there. But otherwise, it's not necessary to to talk about it because you have to do what you have to do. You know what it is? Like, and I'll just take 10 steps back, not by feet, like Ose Shalom Bimromav. No, not those kind of steps back, but like these kind of steps back, like in the discussion. You like that? That was kind of funny. I worked that in, right? We're kind of in a shul in Toronto, so it's shul. So I'll tell you like this: very, very strong idea. I believe with total faith that there's Hashem and that God runs the world and He makes everything happen and what's meant to be is ultimately going to happen no matter what we do. But just because we have emunah, a faith that there's a God that runs the world, and what we call betachon, trust that He's personally involved in our lives, I think a lot of people use that sometimes as a crutch that prevents them from taking the actions that they need to take to get themselves where they want to go. I'll say it differently. You know that expression, God helps those who help themselves? I definitely believe that God helps those part, okay? Orthodox rabbi confessing his beliefs tonight, okay? I believe that God will do what He's going to do. But when I try to get involved with young people, young professionals, my students, people involved in the Jewish Executive Learning Network, I focus on the who help themselves part, okay? I like to focus on what we ourselves can do to get us where we need to go, that we should be fitting and proper in the right place, that God can pour in the blessing in our lives. I believe in that very strongly. At the end of the day, Hashem is going to do what He's going to do and He's going to help us. But as a famous rabbi called the Brisker Rav once used to say about somebody, he said, of course Hashem is going to help that poor person. But we have to help him, so to speak, until Hashem helps him, That's what we have to do. When somebody comes to us with problems, I say very strongly all the time on the radio, I say this anywhere, if you don't like it, change the station, okay? I feel very strongly. When somebody comes to you with a problem, 9 out of 10, telling them just have faith is not what you could do. Take 10 real, concrete, focused, tangible action steps to help them. And then if you want to tell them, don't worry, Hashem's going to help you after, do that. Go help a person. Pick up a phone. Write an email. Do something tangible to help a person, okay? Yeah, and then after that, Hashem, and then if you want to talk to them about after. You know what I mean? But do something tangible to help them because what a lot of times when people have problems, they don't need the faith speech, even though it's oxygen to a Jew's soul. You know what I'm saying? But if a person comes to you and we say Yiddish, they're tzebrach and they're broken with problems, the time is not to don't worry, Hashem. Yeah, let's do something. Somebody comes to me. One thing, you should all connect with me this way, amongst other ways. If you go on Facebook, the Jewish Executive Learning Network, I have a page there for the organization where I crank out job leads that go out every week for free to thousands of Jewish people in North America, in cities all over North America. Somebody comes to me and says, I'm broke and I have no job. This is not the Hashem speech time now. What do you do? Who do you know? Where are you good? How much you want to make? What skills do you have? Let's go there for a long time. And then after we've done a lot of massive titanic action to push you in the right direction, we'll say, don't worry, Hashem is, God willing, going to smile on our efforts, and He's going to bless all the stuff we tried to do. Something's going to come through for you. But the person's hurting. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to go with this is not the first thing. Is we don't need to, because the person might not be able to hear that yet. So I just think that's a very important idea that we need. God will help those who help themselves. But let's focus on the help themselves, because there's a lot more, I'll tell you this, so we could do to help ourselves, and we realize many people say to me, I've tried everything I can to get married. Really? Everything? Everything. Everything? I said everything, okay?
Such as?
Yeah, so I said, well, tell me what you tried. I tried this. What else? And that. Okay, well, what else did you try? Nothing, those two. Okay, how many times did you try them? Well, I tried the first one once and the second one twice. Okay, so you tried everything, which consists of 2 things for a total of 3 tries between the 2, and you tried everything. I don't know what else to try. That's a problem. He doesn't know what else to try. You know what I mean? So don't say I've tried everything, you know? And then remember I said before, people tell stories around facts. The guy says, I have no mazel. You know, well, what did you try to do to get married? What step did you take? What did you do? You know what I mean? I did this 1 or 2 things, you know, once, twice, didn't work, tried everything. We need 100 new actions you could take, okay? Let's make a list. That's what I like to do. That's how I try to add value to people's lives. How are we for time, Rabbi?
I think we can go, well, it's 9:57, so maybe one more question? Or one
Okay, good. Good. Okay, yeah.
You cited some statistics and social studies for support. Any authorities from the Torah about the controlling love and about love coming from the action?
The love coming from what?
From actions.
From the actions you take?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll give you one thing. Do you know it? Do you understand Hebreo?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Ken? ¿Estudiaste la Torah un poquito? Okay, okay, mucho. Okay, so if you want to know where does it say that giving is hav, because we think it's noten, 10, right? So if you look, what happened? Who was it that didn't have a child and she complained to her husband? Hava li banim. Anybody know who it was that says, give me children? Huh? Who knows? Come on. Wasn't Sarah. Rivka. Very good. Ding, 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 ding. She complained to Yitzhak, Hava li banim. Give me, she complained, give me children. Right? That was Rivka. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Just making sure. We're coming up on the book of Bereshit again. I gotta, ooh, that's why we read these parshas every year. Whew. We don't want to put that on the blooper reel, right? Okay, so she said to her husband, give me children. She said, Hava li banim, that's the shayresh, okay? Number 2, that ahava, that's the root. You know Rav Dessler, the Michtav Melio? Rav Elio Dessler? He passed away in the 1950s. He was famous from England and in Israel and Bnei Brak. His Sfarim are in Ivrit, you know, in Lashon HaKodesh, and also in Ingles and other idiomas. He speaks about this at great length, okay? There's your 2 Torah sources for now. Good? About giving and love and that dynamic. Anyway, I really thank you very much for plugging in with me. Before you all give me the love, and you give to me your claps, you're going to get, but before you do, I just want to just let you know how you could reach out to me, because I'm a pretty nice person, and I'm happy to follow up with you. People always reach out, they're like, hey, you actually called, you actually wrote back, you text, I text back, you did, I'm available. So let me give you my email address. My email is, how come not everybody has a smartphone? You have dumb phones? Oh, your battery died. Mine did too, it's charging over there. I'm fresh out. Go through them like tissues. Yeah, Rabbi Lorna has that to find me. So my email is director.
Do you have a telephone number?
Sure. Well, I just don't want to say my cell phone on like because it'll be on the internet and stuff.
May I talk with you for 5 minutes after?
Yeah, sure, why not? Was ist schlecht?
I used to work with the Prime Minister, so...
All right, which one?
Mulrooney, and I was an immigration judge, and I brought my mother here because she was in Auschwitz.
Oh, wow.
And I watched over it from 88 to 97, then I got run over by a car.
Oi. Let me just wrap up the class, and then we'll have this little dance, okay? Yeah, we'll do it? Yeah. So anyway, so my email is director.
D-I-R?
Yeah. E-C.
Oh, the whole thing?
Director.
Yeah.
At.
Yeah.
J.
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
L. N.
All in one word?
Well, yeah, well, if you want to. Director at jeln.org, O-R-G. Okay, you can find me there. If you go to the website called TorahAnytime.com and punch up my name, I have about 300 classes there.
Wait, Mamisha. Torah what?
Torah Anytime.
Torah Anytime is one word?
Yeah, .com. If you punch up my name, I have like 300 classes there, all for free, all kinds of stuff. And then if you go to like YouTube, I just recently made a YouTube channel there. It just type in Rabbi Bregman. I look like this, hey, you know? And I got a lot of videos and clips there that are about 2 minutes long. My name? This is my name.
I need
You
to
go.
change.
Oh yeah, you could Facebook me. Just look up my name, Shlomo Zalman Bregman.
Whoa.
Okay.
Shlomo.
Oh yeah, whoa, whoa, fancy schmancy.
Shlomo
Yeah, whoa
Zalman.
boy.
Oh, la, la.
Yeah, so you can find me on
A lot of
Facebook at my name. And anyway, let's just wrap it up. Thank you for having me, and connect with me, and let's talk, okay? Thank you.